you, Ray, it's been uneventful. I mean, I've just been stuck in limbo in a national top-end establishment, seeing other guys going out on SELs, going shopping trips, getting home access visits, progressing through. Fair enough, a lot of guys have had it cancelled through whatever reasons that GOMA has provided. I think the usual one is not enough staff to provide escorts. But I'm stuck here not gaining any progression at all. And so, as far as my day-to-day life went in here, between working in the gardens, which I do find therapeutic, working outside with plants, and then my own little form of escapism, which is to get into the computer and just sit and while away the hours on the computer the rest of the time. Nothing much has changed here. I play a range of games. I listen to music almost constantly, but I play a range of games. I even use the game Minecraft and design a Minecraft version of the homestead I would ultimately hope to be able to build and live on one day. That's my dream for living out my days, living as self-sufficiently as possible, away from all of this and basically away from people in society. After everything that's been done to me by people and by society and in the name of society, I just want away from it all. So it's purely offline, just gaming on an Xbox 360 console, which were only allowed in SPS prisons from April of 2021. It was an experience for me because at that point when I got my console, that was the first time I'd ever seen anything in high definition. So that was an experience. In Scotland, prisoners in custody have no access to any online functions whatsoever. Even when it comes down to the email a prisoner system, what happens, I don't know entirely what happens at the sender's point, but when it reaches the prisons, it gets printed off onto paper and then puts the message plus a reply sheet if one has been asked for by the sender in an envelope and delivered to the halls for the prisoner. And then say I get an email from somebody, it's printed off, given to me. I will then write my reply on the reply sheet, which has a QR code. I then put that in an envelope and hand it back to staff who send it. I think it's the governor's PA who deals with these things. And I'm assuming at that point it's scanned and the QR code is used to send a scanned copy of my handwritten response back. But yes, in Scotland, prisoners have no access to any internet or anything like that, even when it comes to prisoners in Scotland wanting to do open university courses. It has to be put onto paper or where it can, put onto disk and then sent to the person. Whereas, as far as I know, in England, for education purposes, prisoners can log on to the Open University site and do their courses online. So Scotland is well behind the times in all aspects. I mean, they build shiny new jails with in-cell toilets and showers. they make it look all pretty and nice, but that's just the surface. It's just to make it more tolerable to warehouse people for longer and longer. It seems the rest of the civilized world is moving towards more rehabilitation and understanding when it comes to prison environments, whereas the UK and the US seem to be moving backwards on things and wanting to make it more draconian. They make it nice and shiny on the surface, but it's what's beneath the surface that counts. The way the system works, where, I mean, if you're warehousing prisoners for longer and longer, you've got to do something with that time. And the way the prisons are just now, your meals are all provided. You're told when to go for your meals, where to go for them. There's no independence training. There's no opportunity to gain that experience for years and years until you can get to an independent living unit right at the end of your sentence. So there is no opportunity to prepare for life on the outside. I mean, it even comes down to changing the wording. It used to be training for release, and then they dropped the word training and replaced it with the word testing. So there is no training, there is no preparation for life outside of prison. I feel completely blind to what I'm coming out to outside of prison. I mean, the last time I used the internet, it was dial-up. I've never used broadband internet. You know, if even going to things like that. I've never lived by myself. You know, I was a child when they came and kidnapped me. I don't know how to do taxes. I don't know how to arrange renting accommodation. I don't know how to do any of these things. I've never been given the opportunity to learn any of them. I have heard of contactless through news programs, the odd documentary that might cover issues to do with finance and things like that, where it's contactless payments, so you can either use a bank card or even down to a smartphone for smaller transactions. But I have no idea how it works. I have no idea how to set these things up. I don't know how to set up a bank account for things. Smartphones, I've got no concept of how to use them. Even touchscreen. Not long before I left shops, they'd installed what they called a kiosk. It was a little touchscreen device in the hall that they hadn't rolled out the full system, so at the time I left you could only fill out your menu requests and check for any update notices that they put round, which are usually on paper. But the first time I went to use the touchscreen, I didn't have a clue what to do. It was a member of staff who had to say that, no, this is how you do it, because I was pressing the screen rather than tapping it, so I wasn't getting anywhere. It's down to what I imagine to people out there, these are the most basic of things that they don't even consider. But I have no clue about. I've never been on any form of social media, ever. So I have no idea about that. I hear all sorts about it, but yeah, I have no concept of how it works or anything like that. Video calls, or as it's called in prison, virtual visits, were rolled out in Scotland through the lockdown, the first lockdown of the pandemic, because we weren't allowed face-to-face visits. So we go to the visit room, there are computers with monitors and cameras on them. We do not, the prisoner has no input to arranging a virtual visit, a video call. It is all done from the person outside. I don't know how they go about it. Again, that's an entire mystery to me. I think it's through the email a prisoner system. But it's supposed to work that only people who are on our approved visitors list, so anyone who comes to visit somebody in prison in Scotland, the prisoner has to add that person's details, their name, address, date of birth, to their approved visitors list. And then when the visitor comes to the prison, they have to bring photographic ID and proof of address with them to confirm that they are who they're meant to be. And the same is done for virtual visits, apparently. So they have to, the visitor has to provide, I think how it works is they have to hold up their photographic ID to the camera, and the prison decides whether it's a close enough match to their actual image. But it's done where the visitor requests a visit. Apparently they can request specific times, but then the prison will say, no, we can't accommodate at this time, how about this time? There's a whole lot about that. I don't know either, but the basics are that prisoners have no say in the arranging of a virtual visit, other than we're meant to be given a notification slip that's printed off from the email a prisoner system saying you have a visit with such and such a person at date and time. Your unique code for the day, because we get a password on it. So we're supposed to be given that ahead of time. A lot of time it can end up we get it after we've had the visit, so the first we know we've got a visit booked is when we're shouted on to go for a virtual visit. So a lot of the time we won't even know who it is until we join the call. I mean, I do get, obviously technology has moved on, but I mean, we have prison issued mobile phones here. They're limited to who we can call, and that's our approved phone numbers list. They cannot make texts, they're dumb phones. It's actually the same level of technology of phone that I last had before I was kidnapped by the state. I mean, it's actually slightly lower, but the last phone I had a very basic still picture camera on it. This one doesn't. But yeah, so we can't receive any phone calls, we can only initiate them from the prison issue mobiles. But even making video calls on the phone or hear about it, TV programs, news, people just walking around, just always on their phone, never really looking up to what they're doing, who they're with or anything, but just constantly attached to their phone because it's really just a computer they have in their hand that happens to have voice and video communication abilities. But yeah, that's all. Yeah, I have no clue about any of that beyond the most basics. And other than using a mobile phone to make calls when I was outside texting, that's what a mobile phone is to me. It's this idea of receiving a call and then holding it up to have a video chat with somebody. That's a mystery to me. I mean, even the virtual visits, the video calls here, these were really weird to start up with. That took a bit of getting used to. In terms of day-to-day life in prison, from January of 2023 onwards, there's been no change in my situation. There's been a lot of movement outside side of the prison when it comes to putting out what we've learned about the police destroying all, or damn near almost all of the evidence that they'd been holding on to, all the materials. They've destroyed all of the documentation. So that was a big kick, because basically they're just in the process of erasing all of their wrongdoing and all of their mistakes. They're just deleting it all, burning it up. As far as I know, these things are incinerated, so they're just burning it all up. They're setting fire to the things that can ultimately lead to my exoneration and what would hopefully be the eventual conviction of the actual killer. But since the police are busy destroying, or on their way to destroying all of it, that prospect is rapidly dwindling. And I felt that was a narrow prospect to begin with. So we're at the point where I really do not hold any hope whatsoever for the actual killer being convicted. More so now that the police have been destroying the evidence. But these are all things that are moving on outside. A lot of this, given that public opinion was used and exploited and manipulated in order to convict me, these are very serious matters of public interest. And there's that distinction where you have to make the distinction of what is in the public interest and what is of interest to the public. And this is definitely in the public interest, given what's being carried out in their name, on their behalf, and at their expense. And given that the police have so far gotten away with it, it makes that all the more likely that they will do it again in the future and get away with it. So these are definitely matters of public interest. And that's why so much of this information needs to be put out there to the public. It sounds all very conspiratorial, but all the different agencies involved in this, the police, the Crown Office, Procurator, Fiscal Service, the courts, all of that, they all answer to the Scottish ministers, and the Scottish ministers are the Scottish Government. So given that only taking through things through the, in inverted commas, official route of going through applications to courts, or even the Scottish Criminal Cases Review Commission, they answer to the Scottish ministers. They must act on any instruction given to them by the Scottish ministers. So any submission made to them, even given that it is challenging the Scottish ministers, should the Scottish ministers turn around to the Scottish Criminal Case Review Commission and say, do not pursue this matter, they have to obey that instruction. So that is why the public need to know these things. And if the public are not happy with the way things are and how this is operating, then the public need to stand up and demand changes, demand answers to the questions that are left blank. Nothing will change otherwise unless the public do something about it. The system will only get worse because they will continue to get away with this behaviour. And the more they get away with it, the longer they get away with it, the worse they become. It's, like I say, these things are going out in the public. The thing is, while I know it is good that this is all going on, there's a disconnect because it's not having so far any positive effect my day-to-day life, and that's what's so frustrating. And it's what's so difficult to get my head around how much public opinion has shifted, because I am locked away from it all, literally. It's difficult to see the level of support this has gained. But given that my day-to-day situation hasn't changed, I'm still being wrongfully held up and denied progression. I'm still being subjected to these abuses. On top of that, it's coming from all angles. I'm being treated differently in terms of even things like access to property, where other prisoners are typically brought up within days of receiving a package with property, because prior to the pandemic, if you got visits, your visitors could bring property along and hand it in, so long as it was accompanied by what's called a pro-form, which is basically an authorisation form saying that you have officially requested these items and you're being allowed them. But that was all put a stop to, so all property that comes in for prisoners must be sent by delivery. When it comes down to the issuing of property, other prisoners, like I say, are being typically brought to reception within a couple of days of their package arriving. It goes through security procedures where items are swabbed with, I think it's an ion scanner, it's an itemizer, which detects for any illicit substances, and then it's issued to the prisoners, whereas I'm being told that because I received a large volume of property not long after I arrived here, because we're allowed different items here than we are in closed conditions, because I received such a large volume of it, I'm now restricted to being able to collect my property once a month. But then going further to that, if there are several packages for me to receive, the reception officers might only collect half of them from the mailroom and bring them down, despite me telling them that I know there are other packages there, because the senders have told me they've received confirmation of delivery. I'm only issued half the property or an amount of the property, despite me telling them there's more there, and then they hold on to the rest of it for the following month, whereas that's not happening for other prisoners. So while that might seem like a trivial matter to a lot of people out there, this is our day-to-day lives. And these things become big issues because our world is basically shrunk to the prison, the size of the prison. These issues gain more significance. And when you add all of these occurrences up, being treated differently in terms of property, even from the moment I arrived in this prison, things like you're no longer allowed ceramic cups, but if you transfer from another prison, if you've already had a ceramic cup, then you are being allowed to keep it. And that has happened for, as far as I know, every other prisoner here. But when I arrived here, no, you're not allowed ceramic cups, and they take it off me into my property. They took my fan off me because they'd banned the use of fans during the pandemic. So but other prisoners are allowed to keep their fans, things like that. So it's being treated differently and being denied access to things that other prisoners are allowed access to. When it comes down to the police so-called investigation of this psychological report, based on the alleged analysis of evidence which has already been destroyed, I was assured that it would be submitted by May. We're approaching the end of May now, only a couple of days left, and I've not heard anything about it since. So I have no clue what's going on there. Officially, I was informed of my removal from community access on the 30th of June 2022, but my last piece of community access was the 5th of May 2022. The process of progression is meant to take, if you arrive correctly on your dates, So 4 years prior to the end of your punishment part, the tariff. So if you arrive 4 years prior, then you're meant to spend 2 years at semi-open National Top End and then 2 years at the open estate Castle Huntly. But my official management plan was for 2 years here. Come the 19th of July, I will have been here 2 years and not even completed my first year's worth of SELs. I feel like I've been abandoned here. I can't get answers from anybody. I've tried asking everybody through the chain of command in this prison about what's happening. I can't get any straight answers. I've been left in limbo with this so-called leak file case review, which I know and have provided evidence of the fact that it cannot be going ahead. And I'm still being told we've just got to wait and see what the outcome of that is. The governor in charge, Morag Sterling, has chosen to remove me from community access for no good reason, and we're just not offering any other reason other than risk. When it came to a discussion through, I think it was February or March, I had another RMT of this year, 2023, and that was the Governor, Morag Sterling, and the Lifer Liaison Officer, Owen McDade, who came down to give that disclosure meeting to me, and I asked again and pointed out again about this so-called deep file case review, and pointed out to the Governor that I provided evidence to her that showed and proved that it could not be going on. The Governor's response to me was, "Oh, well, I don't know about that. Look, I'm just a hairdresser." That was her actual words to me. "I don't know about that, look. I'm just a hairdresser." I was left shocked by that. I mean, who says that? It's for the Governor of a prison housing a national top-end unit to turn around and say that to somebody under her care, when she's the one who has taken the action which is denying me community access, and then to attempt to absolve herself of any and all responsibility by claiming to be just a hairdresser. Now, from my understanding, she started off working in the SPS as a hairdresser and worked her way up through the ranks. So that seems to be the context of her reference. But she isn't a hairdresser now. She's the Governor of a prison housing a national top-end unit. I mean, if she is just a hairdresser, my question would be, what the hell is security doing letting somebody play dress up as the Governor and coming into work every day? Well, so this has all been going on, and, well, through this month of May, it was all getting on top. And I mean, I have 2 personal officers because they are shift sharing or job sharing, but even added together as a single entity, they're in less than half the time that any of the other officers at Chriswell House are on shift. So I can barely ever get to speak to them, and when I do, they tell me they're not told what's going on, so I can't get any answers out of them. I can't get any answers out of the hall manager. I can't get any answers out of the Lifer Liaison Officer, the Deputy Governor. The Governor's apparently just a hairdresser playing dress up, so I can't get any answers there. I've gone through everything that I'm supposed to do. There are things going on outside of prison. I worry about my mum's health. The fact that I've not had a visit with her for over a year, down to her health. And because I'm off of community access, the Deputy Governor has informed me that I would have to request for what's called an EDL, an extraordinary day's leave, to visit my mum in her house. But that would be under secure conditions. The Deputy Governor informed me that I would be double cuffed. So my wrists would be cuffed together, and I would be cuffed to an officer, and that the police would be present. That's the only way I'll get to visit my mum. So I've got all of this going on. there are a whole range of issues just all bearing down all at once. And so I ended up taking a drug just to have a night off. That was it. That was my goal, to have a night off from the stress of everything that's going on. And again, drug tested the very next day. Failed. So right now I'm in the situation of waiting for the confirmation results, lab results to come back. I'm still within Criswell House just now. I don't know if when the lab results come back I'll be shipped to A Hall. They could come for me at any time to do that. I don't know whether they're going to give me a 3-month downgrade in A Hall or whether they're just going to kick me straight back to shops or leave me in limbo for 3 months in A Hall in closed conditions and then tell me I'm going back to shops, or I just don't know what is happening. I mean, it came down to the week before last, I had a conversation with my prison-based social worker because I'm still waiting on the amended minutes from a case management conference of January 2022. And I was seeking these minutes be amended because my previous prison-based social worker had included information which was factually and medically incorrect. And I'm still waiting on those amended minutes and being told that the manager who's dealing with it is busy. 16 months down the line, he's busy to amend the minutes and remove something which under general data protection regulations they are legally bound to remove, given that it is not correct. I then got to discussing with my prison-based social worker about, has she heard anything about what's going on with this so-called report or anything to do with anything in my case and my case management? And then explained to her that I'm not getting anywhere with any of my questioning, and it got to the point I posed the question to her, what do I need to do for people to sit up and take notice? She said, oh no, look, you just need to continue behaving. You're doing really good on that front. And my response was, well, clearly it's not doing me any good because I have been behaving myself, and this is the situation I am in as a result of behaving myself. So what is it going to take? Do I need to start acting out? Do I need to start acting up? Do I need to start misbehaving in order for people to pay attention? I don't want to do that, but if that is the only route I can go, given that I have tried every other route there is, I have gone through the process and gotten nowhere with it. The only things being left are for me to start misbehaving and acting up. If that will get a response and that will get people to sit up and start taking notice of the abusive process and the abuse of me that is going on. I then asked the social worker, as I said, don't give me the standard line of, oh no, you need to keep behaving because that's expected of you. I said to her, given everything you know about what's going on right now with my case, can you give me one good reason why I should continue behaving myself? And she just sort of looked at me and went, well, no, not really. I mean, what do I do? I've tried going through all the proper channels and I'm left with nothing. But I'm suffering the consequences of everyone else's decision-making process. I'm suffering the consequences of their actions, and nobody else is being held accountable for their actions. So it was all getting on top of me. So I took something just to get my head out of this place for a few hours, and I got caught. I put my hands up to it. When they did the drug test and it came back positive, I put my hands up to it. But now I'm just waiting on confirmation to come back. And then I get issued a governor's report, go to the orderly room, receive punishment there, and then wait for an adverse risk management team meeting to decide my fate in terms of my place within National Top End. It does feel like they've set me up to fail. They've set me up, and then when I've not reacted to things, they've just upped the game and upped the game and upped the game and upped the pressure and upped the abuse and just thrown it in from every angle to things that by themselves might seem petty to take issue with. But the cumulative effect of it all, until I do something like take drugs or act out or misbehave in some way so that they can then point the finger at me and go, see, we knew you were a bad person. We knew you weren't ready for this. We gave you every opportunity and this is what you've done with it. This is just proof that you're not ready yet. And that is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's where if you maintain that somebody's a bad person and then you leave them with no other option but to misbehave, what else is it? I want people to listen to everything that's been said, everything that's gone on, and make a choice. If you feel that this is wrong, that this is not how a state organisation, a state body should be treating people under its care. And in Scotland, every prisoner is considered to be a vulnerable person. And we are under the care of the state. So if this is against what you believe the state should be doing with people that are under its care, then stand up and make your voices heard. Demand answers as to why this is going on. What is its purpose? And demand that it stops. Because the only experience I have of it is how I've been treated on behalf of Scottish society, on behalf of the people of Scotland, by the state. So that's my experiences of it. So all the experiences I have to date, all the abuse, all the torture at the hands of the state and all the different state agencies, that is my experience of what Scottish society is. But if you disagree with what is going on, then you need to make your voice heard, because silence only allows them to continue on and to scale it up further and further. And it's not just me. It will be to more and more people, and more innocent people will be subjected to this. The longer this is allowed to go on. So, I don't know what else to say. Beyond that, it's my fate is in the hands of the Scottish public. That is it.